They're coming off a heartbreaking loss in Cairns, but still at 5-2, you think St Kilda are finals bound, particularly with the verve they're playing with in season 2022. Josh Gabelich, you've been keeping a close eye over the Saints. What do we make of their season so far? Apart from the loss at the weekend, it's been pretty positive.
Sarah, it's been a very positive start to the season. You put aside the Cairns situation. They only lost by a point. They should be 6-1. They really should be 6-1 right now. But they won 5 games on the trot between rounds 2 and 6. First time they've done that since 2011. They look finals bound when you think about this club and what they went through only last season. They look like a finals contender and they could make a deep run. They've got a lot of strengths across the board. They're just definitely a team to watch across this season.
What has been the biggest surprise so far? Because when you do look at the Saints on paper, not necessarily littered with stars, but you've got some of these lesser lights really shining this season.
Yes, you're right. The one that stands out for me is Jack Higgins. I mean, he's so exciting, Jack Higgins. I think he's kicked 15 goals across the first 7 rounds. And essentially, he missed 2 of those games with concussion. He was concussed in the first quarter and then obviously missed the next game in protocol. So to think that he's kicked 15 goals already this season is quite remarkable. He's emerged as an All-Australian contender, which is not something you would have thought going back 6 or 7 weeks. So he's been one that's really leapt out of the blocks so far.
And pretty remarkable given after that round 1 performance. Some greats of St Kilda were asking for Jack Higgins to be dropped. Now, you mentioned an All-Australian contender there. In Jack Higgins, he'd certainly have to come into mind when it comes to the small forwards, especially given Tom Papley's only just come back in. So that's a position, I should say, that will be vacant. But an All-Australian lock, who have you got?
Max King right now. He's been sensational. Kicked 19-19. So the issue there is his accuracy in front of goal. If he kicks a few more, he'll be leading the Coleman. There's only 2 players in the competition that kick more goals than him across the first 7 rounds, and that's Tom Hawkins and Tom Lynch. Max King, he's just yet to grab a game by the scruff of the neck. He's produced stunning quarters, stunning halves, but not 4 quarters just yet. But just wait, it's only a matter of time, I think, with Max King.
If he puts 4 quarters together, it might be a 16-goal game for Max King. What about Jade Gresham, though? I know you're a big fan of his. Potentially a smoky for All-Australian too? I
think so, Sarah. I've loved what Jade Gresham's done. When you think about how much football he's missed across the past 2 years, really look at last year. He didn't play again after round 3. He had that Achilles tendon issue, but he's come back with a bang. He's spending more time in the midfield, which is fantastic for the Saints because they need a point of difference in there, and he definitely provides that. He still impacts the scoreboard. I think he's kicked 9 goals across the first 7 rounds, but his numbers are great. His work around the clearances have been sensational. I think he has All-Australian quality. Whether it's this year, I don't know, but he'll definitely have a blazer in the future.
He's certainly classy and nice to see him back on the park after all those injuries. And that brings us to the health report at St Kilda. We know that if teams are going to go deep into September, they want to have their best outfit out there. How are the Saints looking?
They've had some issues, Sarah, they really have, but they've got some high-quality players that are on the cusp of returning. We saw Jack Billings and Zach Jones both play at Trevor Barker Oval on Sunday. They're knocking on the door for a recall as soon as this week against Melbourne on Mother's Day, which is a massive clash.
Big match
for the Saints. Jack Billings, that's his first game since the Amy Community Series at the start of March. He's had some issues with his hamstrings, not just across the past 2 months, but even across the pre-season. So a slight watch on him, but geez, I think he'd slot into this side really, really well. And Hunter Clark's the other one, Sarah. We haven't seen Hunter Clark yet. He went down in the same game in the pre-season as Jack Billings with a shoulder injury. He's set to return in the VFL this weekend. So there's going to be some serious pressure for spots. Jared Geary's the other one, the former skipper, who hasn't played at all this year in terms of senior football. He's no longer part of the furniture down back, but I think if he gets in, he'll stay for the rest of the season. And the disappointing story, as far as the Saints are concerned, is Jack Hayes. He's not a star by any stretch of the imagination, but he's been one of the best stories of the year. I think there's Paddy McCartan, Sam Doherty, and then in terms of feel good, it was Jack Hayes. So to see him go down in Canberra with a ruptured ACL was devastating. We won't see him again this year, but we'll see him again in 2023.
Yeah, nice to hear that the Saints got on the front foot and gave him a contract extension straight away. Now, 5-2, Josh. History would suggest finals are certainly on the cards for St Kilda. Are you leaning that way?
I am. I think they'll definitely play finals now. It just depends how far they can go. So 6-1 would have put him in a really strong position to make a really deep run. They're still in that contention. I mean, you only lose by a point, but I think we'll find out a lot about the Saints across the next fortnight. They've got Melbourne on Sunday, then they've got Geelong. So we'll get a real good sense on where Brett Ratton's side are at. But right now, they're going quite nicely at 5-2.
As big as it gets, the Demons this weekend for St Kilda. That's what we've made of their season so far.